History remembers the heroes. We build statues to the liberators, the conquerors, and the men who broke empires. But deep within the ancient records of Israel lies a name so dark, so violently ambitious, that historians usually gloss over it entirely. This is the story of a forgotten prince who decided that the easiest way to secure absolute power was to eliminate his entire family, all 70 of them, on a single stone, in a single afternoon. This is not a myth. This is a 3,000-year-old case study in raw, unchecked psychopathy. Welcome to a special 15-minute deep dive into the story of Abimelech. We aren't just looking at a story, we are performing a forensic reconstruction of a tyrant's rise and his spectacular, ignominious fall. To understand Abimelech, we must first understand the world that made him. Israel was a loose confederacy of tribes, living in a power vacuum between the fall of Egypt's influence and the rise of the monarchy. It was a time of judges, military leaders who rose in times of crisis. His father was Gideon, a man of legendary status. Gideon had saved Israel from the Midianites with a force of just 300 men. He was offered the crown, the ultimate prize, but he famously refused it, claiming only the Lord should rule. But Gideon's refusal was complicated. He lived with the opulence of a king, keeping many wives and fathering 70 sons. Abimelech, however, was the son of a concubine from Shechem. He was the perpetual outsider, watching from the periphery as his brothers enjoyed the legitimacy he was denied. In this shadow, a toxic ambition grew. Abimelech didn't just want recognition, he wanted total dominance. He possessed his father's strategic mind, but it was hollowed out by resentment. When Gideon died, the thin veneer of order vanished. Abimelech's first move was a masterstroke of tribal politics. He went to Shechem, his mother's kin, and whispered a dangerous question. Is it better for you that 70 men rule over you or just one? Remember, I am your own flesh and blood. The leaders of Shechem saw an opportunity for local influence. They financed his ambition with 70 pieces of silver from the temple of Baal-berith. This wasn't just money, it was a religious endorsement of a political assassination. With the silver, Abimelech recruited what the ancient records call worthless and reckless men. These were mercenaries with no loyalties, no codes, and no hesitation. They were the perfect tools for the purge that was about to unfold. They marched to Gideon's home in Ophrah. What happened next was a systematic liquidation. Abimelech didn't just kill his rivals, he erased his father's legacy. One by one, 70 brothers were brought to a single stone block. The execution was public and personal. Abimelech presided over every death, ensuring the bloodline was severed. But in the chaos of the dawn raid, the count was off. A single mistake that would haunt his entire reign. Jotham, the youngest, had managed to hide. He witnessed the end of his family and escaped into the mountains. He became a ghost, a living reminder of Abimelech's failure to achieve a clean slate. He waited for his moment to speak. The leaders of Shechem crowned Abimelech near the Pillar of the Oak. It was a coronation built on a foundation of brotherhood mass murder. They cheered, they drank, but the celebration was about to be interrupted by a voice from the sky. Suddenly, Jotham appeared on the heights of Mount Gerizim. He didn't use a sword, he used a parable, the first great fable in literary history. He spoke of the trees seeking a king, asking the olive, the fig, and the vine. The productive trees refused the crown, unwilling to give up their fruit just to wave over the trees. They understood that leadership is a burden that distracts from one's purpose. But the trees were desperate. They turned to the bramble. The bramble accepted, but with a chilling condition. If you want me as king, take refuge in my shade. Otherwise, let fire come out and burn down the cedars. It was a direct insult to Abimelech, a king who offered no shade, only the threat of fire. Jotham finished with a curse that was both spiritual and psychological. If you have acted in good faith, enjoy your king, but if not, let fire come out from Abimelech and consume Shechem. Then he vanished, leaving the curse to rot their alliance. For 3 years, Abimelech ruled with an iron fist, but as Jotham predicted, the alliance began to fracture. Paranoia is the natural byproduct of power seized by blood. He didn't trust the leaders of Shechem, and they began to loathe his tax demands. The city revolted through sabotage. They set up ambushes on the trade routes, stealing the revenue meant for Abimelech's treasury. They were testing the bramble, seeing if it would really catch fire. They didn't have to wait long. A rogue warlord named Gaul arrived and openly insulted Abimelech's lineage. "Who is Abimelech?" he shouted. "Why should we serve him?" This was the spark. The city of Shechem declared open war on their own king. Abimelech's response was a masterclass in tactical brutality. He didn't just lay siege, he planned a total erasure. He split his forces into 4 groups, encircling the city at dawn, catching the citizens as they went out to work their fields. The slaughter in the fields was just the beginning. Abimelech breached the gates and fought his way through the streets. He didn't take prisoners. He leveled every house, turning a thriving trade hub into a graveyard of stone and ash. Then he did something that archaeological records still struggle to explain. He sowed the city with salt. This was a ritualistic curse, meant to ensure that nothing would ever grow there again. He wasn't just destroying a city, he was murdering the land itself. 1,000 of the city's leaders fled to the reinforced vault of the temple of Baal-berith. It was an impregnable fortress, a subterranean bunker of stone. They thought they were safe from the sword. They forgot Jotham's warning. Abimelech remembered the parable. He led his men to the forest, cut down branches and piled them against the tower's ventilation shafts and doors. He was the bramble, and he was finally bringing the fire he had promised 3 years ago. They set the wood on fire. 1,000 people, men, women, and children, died of smoke inhalation and heat in the vault they thought would save them. Fire had come out from the bramble and consumed Shechem. The curse was complete. Drunk on the blood of Shechem, Abimelech immediately marched to the neighboring town of Thebez. He was no longer a king, he was a force of nature, a wildfire that couldn't be extinguished. The people of Thebez fled to their own high tower. Believing he was untouchable, Abimelech repeated his tactic. He walked straight to the tower doors, preparing to set them ablaze. He didn't look up. He didn't see the woman on the roof. He didn't realize his story was about to end in 3 seconds. She wasn't a soldier. She was an unnamed citizen with a household tool. She picked up the heavy stone and dropped it. In the ancient world, this was the ultimate irony. The man who built his kingdom on a single stone was about to be destroyed by one. The stone struck him squarely on the head, fracturing his skull. He collapsed into the dirt, the fire in his hand flickering out. In the ancient Near East, to be killed by a woman was a disgrace that erased every victory you had ever won. Realizing the nature of his end, Abimelech frantically drew his dagger. He looked at his servant and gasped his final order. "Draw your sword and kill me so that they won't say of me, 'A woman killed him.'" His legacy was his only concern. The servant ran him through. The moment the tyrant died, the cause died with him. The army didn't seek revenge. They went home. The bloody experiment of Israel's first self-appointed king ended in a heartbeat in the dirt of Thebez. Archaeologists in the 1960s excavated Shechem and found a massive layer of ash and burned wood dating exactly to this period. They found evidence of a city that had been systematically leveled and salted. The legend of the bramble isn't just a story, it's a recorded trauma. Abimelech spent his life trying to craft a legacy of power through blood. But history remembers him only as the bramble that burned his own people. Because in the end, those who build kingdoms on the blood of others always find out that the bill eventually comes due.